Okay, this is April 10th, 2017, and this is an interview with Mrs. Cherry Harrison at 87 Halelo Street in Lahaina.
Hi, Paula.
Hi, Mama.
I love having you here, honey.
Thank you. Okay, so I just want to find out a few things from you on video so I have it for the future. So, your name, please.
Cherry Ann Forrest Harrison.
And where were you born?
I was born in Clovis, New Mexico.
What time?
What time?
What date?
What date? May 3, 1930.
Do you know what time?
I don't know what.
You don't remember?
No, I don't know. We didn't care about that.
Okay. So what were your parents' names?
Leo Forrest and Mary Elizabeth Cherry Forrest.
Great. Did you have any brothers or sisters?
I had one brother, Bedford.
Was he older or younger?
He's younger.
Okay.
1 year, 2 years.
2 years. Okay. So I'm going to ask you just a little bit about what you remember as a child, if you remember. Do you remember like where you lived when you were a child?
I remember living in Farwell. I don't remember much. Daddy had graduated from, they both graduated from West Texas College, University. It wasn't a university then. And Daddy was planning to go into school administration. So he went to Farwell, Texas, which is on the border with New Mexico. Mm-hmm. And he was superintendent of schools there from the time I was 6 until I was 10.
Do you remember it?
Yes, very well.
Were you in the town or in the city or in the country?
Well, it was the town, not in the edge of the town, and we lived in the teacherage right across the street from the school. Daddy was the superintendent of the school, and we were right across the street.
So did you have like a happy childhood?
Oh yeah.
You did?
There were children who lived nearby, the Thomases and the Booths, mm-hmm. 2 girls who were a couple of years older than I, and some boys from Bedford's age. And we played with them quite a lot and rode bicycles down the road close by.
Yeah.
So it was fun. We enjoyed living there.
That's great. So were you named after anyone? You're named Cherry?
Well, my mother's last name was Cherry, so I was named for her. And her friend in college was Anna, so she named me Ann with an E for instead of the A.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so did you go to school there in Farwell?
Yes.
So how old were you when you started school?
6.
6? Okay. And do you remember going to school? Do you remember like how you got to school or what you
I
wore
walked
to
across
school?
the street.
You walked across the street. Okay. Did you like school?
Yes, I did. I liked it a lot.
So, were your parents, were they like strict, or were they like easygoing, or how was your childhood environment?
I don't remember them being harshly strict or particularly loose. They were just good. They were educated parents, I guess.
Yeah, good parents.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, when you were a kid, did you ever have any accidents? Did you ever have to go to the hospital? Were you sick? Were you always healthy? How was your health?
I was healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I really had any accidents, as I recall.
Well, that's good. That's pretty good. So, did your parents did they go to church, or did you go to church when you were a kid?
Yes, we definitely went to church regularly because my mother's father had been a Methodist circuit rider preacher in Texas, and so they were always connected to the Methodist Church affairs, and as if they would go to the annual conferences to help where the preachers were assigned and to see who was going to live where. So they felt very closely tied to the Methodist Church. And my father's family was not Methodist. They were Church of God.
Church of God. Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother was pretty religious.
Okay. So, but your parents, they were, when you were growing up, it was a Methodist
Mm-hmm.
church.
And we went to the Methodist Church in Texaco, which was across the border into New Mexico, but it was still part of the community. It was.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
There's Texaco and Farwell, and they were basically the same community, but one was in Texas and one was in New Mexico.
Wow. So, did you like going to church?
Yes.
So, did you ever get like baptized or confirmed or anything like that when you were a kid? Like at church, did they have?
I think I was baptized as an infant.
An infant. Okay, great. So, do you remember, like in those days, did your parents, did you have to do chores? Did you get an allowance, or do you remember that kind of stuff?
Probably we had an allowance,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't say these are your chores,
Mm-hmm.
but we helped out
Helped out.
quite a lot with the household things.
Okay, that's cool. So, how long did you live in Farwell? How old were you when you moved away from there?
I was 10.
You were 10.
Mhm.
Still young. Where did you move?
Moved to Hereford.
Hereford.
We spent the summer in between before the school was out and before it started, and we went to a place where a farm that had an agricultural ditch with water flowing, and we would swim in that agricultural ditch every afternoon.
That sounds like fun.
It was a lot of fun.
So Hereford, now I've been to Hereford. It's in West Texas. And did Gran and Gingding, which is what I call Leo and Elizabeth, did they have the same house that I went to the whole time? Out at the farm?
No.
Uh-uh.
We did. That was before the farm.
Okay.
After I was 10, we moved to the farm.
Okay.
But in Hereford, in Farwell,
Uh-huh.
we had three bedroom house,
Mm-hmm.
and just did that for us. And occasionally, someone would come to stay with us for a day or two, for maybe a day or two.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't
Okay.
have any other help than that.
So then when you moved to Hereford, you were 10. And then what was it like in Hereford? What was your house like?
Well, at first we lived in town in Hereford, and it was just kind of an ordinary town.
Mhm.
And then Lil was always thinking that he needed to own land.
Yeah.
And so soon after we moved there, he bought a farm
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 miles out of Hereford. And we moved to a farmhouse. And it was something that they worked on for several years to remodel and refinish.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a wheat and cattle country.
Cattle. Mhm.
So he had wheat farm and raised cattle.
Wow. Now I've been to that farm. That was a fun farm.
That was your memory. Mhm.
Did you like living there when you were a kid?
Indeed, yes.
You did, even though it
Yes.
was out of town, and yeah.
Yes, rode the school bus.
Mm-hmm. Is that where you learned how to ride a horse?
Oh yes, we all had horses. I had a horse called Diamond. Bedford's horse was called, I can't remember. And Daddy was in a riding club, and Mother was in it for a while. She was a tenderfoot rider. She was not really comfortable riding horse. But Bedford and I were good horse people.
Yeah. So you rode around the farm and the ranch. Was it kind of like a little farm ranch, small ranch farm?
It was half a section of land, and land is a section is a square mile,
Wow.
and so it was half of that, half a
I
mile.
remember it had like a pond
Had a lake down in it, yeah.
and had chickens.
Oh, yes.
And
we had
garden.
a big garden on the side, and we had everything we ate was grown right there. We had chickens and turkeys and rabbits. Daddy liked the rabbits.
Yeah.
And veggies, lots of veggies from the garden. Mother canned a lot, and so we ate fresh veggies and then canned veggies all winter.
Yeah. It was delicious. And I think the house you had, I think Ging Ding told me that it was made out of box cars.
Well, it was at first. It was. They had 2 box cars, and then they built over it and had a basement and turned it into a nice looking house because
Yeah.
it was not so nice right at first, but
Mhm.
it was a good investment, and we thought it was delightful.
So did you do any work around there? Did you like help with the vegetables or the animals? Or,
Yeah, we did.
Mhm.
Well, Bedford helped more. I didn't. Bedford helped with the milking of the cows after he was older, and we worked a little bit in the garden.
Yeah.
We weren't required to help carry the load of of farming really, but we did the occasional chores, and I learned to do some of the canning and cooking stuff.
So did your parents, they wanted you to get a good education, they wanted you to focus on school? Is that why?
Yes.
It's important to them?
Well, we learned to do things too. Bedford's health was not as good as mine.
Mhm.
He was a sick little boy.
Mm.
He had pneumonia when he was little, and he was not quite as vigorously healthy. I never was. I was always quite healthy, but
Yeah.
he's a little bit more fragile than I was.
Yeah. So you took the school bus to school, and how did you do in school? Were you a good student? Did you
Mhm.
like it? What was it like? How were you as a student?
I was good, and I thought I was always a good student. I remember looking at our grades, and my grades after I moved to Hereford were not as good. And I remember the teacher saying, well, some people here think they should get all A's, but this is a harder school.
Well, that's
And I thought that was kind of insulting.
yeah.
But most of the time I made good grades.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds great. Okay, so did you go when you lived in Hereford? Did you go all the way through high school there?
I
In the
did. I
same
graduated from high school in 1947.
So you went to high school in Hereford too.
Mhm.
So did you still take the bus
Yes.
the whole time? Grade school all the way through high school,
Yes,
take the
yes.
bus?
Sometimes we would. My mother, if we had things after school, Mother would come in and pick us up because it was 2 to 3 miles, maybe. That's
Mhm.
not a hard trip.
Mhm.
But at the first, at the first at the time, Daddy had a job with the Farm Security Administration, with the federal government. So he would travel to other counties, and Mother would be at home with us for 3 days a week sometimes.
I see.
So that was hard. I remember one time after I didn't get the bus home from school. Mother was really worried, and she and Bedford had to walk to my friend's house, which was about 2 miles away, to look for me. And so I thought that was a very thoughtless thing on my part.
I want to take just a short break, and then we'll be right back. Okay, this is take 2 or number 2, interview number 2. We're talking about mom in high school. So you took the bus to high school. You graduated from high school in 1947, right?
Yes.
Do you remember? What do you remember about high school? Friends or clubs? What do you remember about being in high school? Did you have any Girl Scouts or anything like that?
I had Campfire Girls. We did that. That was interesting. Bedford had Boy Scouts. And I had Glee Club,
Oh,
and I took home economics, and I had some associations with that. And I worked in the church youth group a lot. Is that, and that was a very active program for young people.
mm-hmm.
And we would have district meetings, sub-district meetings, and meet with, say, 4 or 5 schools in an area, maybe once a month, every 6 weeks.
Mm.
And then I would have a camp, go to Paladro Canyon for camp
Oh, wow.
for a week or two. And that was, I loved the camping at Paladro Canyon.
Yeah.
And we'd have church camp.
Mhm.
And it was fun. It made
Wow.
a good mix. We met people from all around the area and made good friends that we later knew in college too.
So, did you have a boyfriend in high school?
Not really. I had some dates in high school, but I didn't settle on one boyfriend.
Not in high school.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So, did you ever have a car?
My own car?
Did Ging have a car?
Yes.
Your family had a car.
Yes, definitely had cars and pickup. A car and a pickup.
Both. Did Gran know how to drive?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, did you learn how to drive?
Yes,
In
we
high
had
school?
driver's education, and I learned to drive. Yes, yes, I did.
Did you have a car?
Not my own car.
So I heard a story once that some guy brought an airplane to your farm or something.
Well, there were a couple of fellows in my class whose fathers had airplanes, and they liked to come to see me because we had, right next to the house, we had a little spot that didn't have any crops on it,
Mm-hmm.
and it was big enough for them to land. So one of them was Sowell. What was his first name? And the other one was anyway. They would come and land there, and I'd go up in that plane with them.
Oh, really? Wow.
And my father never said I couldn't go, so I was sort of grateful.
Wow. So, how did you ever go on vacations?
Yes, we went on vacation quite a lot because, well, earlier when Leo was still teaching, he was working on his master's degree, and one summer we went to California the year I was 9 before we left to Harvard, and we went to Los Angeles for him to go to UCLA to school, and we lived in an apartment in Los Angeles, right next to the Los Angeles big civic.
Angelus Temple or something.
It was a civic center sort
Yeah.
of thing where you have everything. And
Yeah.
Amy Semple McPherson came there while we were there, and Daddy wanted to hear see her because she was famous. She was
Yeah.
legendary.
Yeah.
So we went to see her, and we were just dazzled by her because she's dressed sometimes as a man, and she said she was related to Napoleon.
She liked to do these illustrated sermons.
Yeah, and
you know?
so we were pretty dazzled by all that. But then, let's see, I can't remember. They got away from that, back
Yeah.
to Hereford.
Yeah.
But and vacations, we traveled. Yes, we made vacations regularly. Let me think. I should have thought.
You had
this.
relatives like Big
We
Spring.
went. We went to see Daddy's family
Mm-hmm.
very often. He had a family of 9 children. My grandparents had 9 children, 5 sisters and 4 brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to Big Spring and had my uncles there had a farm with horses and all kinds of. They had cotton crops in that farm,
Mm-hmm.
and cousins my age and Bedford's age and they were delightful summers. Aunt Jewel and Uncle Bill were they lived in the family farmhouse that my grandparents had, and they were really gracious at that, having Bedford and me there for summers, and they were delightful times.
Wow.
We had fun with all their friends.
Cool. That sounds fun.
Mm.
So, did you ever see Gran's mother? Your Elizabeth's mother?
Yes. She had 3 brothers and a sister. Ruby Kendrick was her sister. She lived in Amarillo most of the time when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And we were very close to her. And her brothers we saw occasionally. We didn't go to see them as often.
Mhm.
S.T. Schumann,
Mhm.
S.T. McCoy and
Mhm.
Schumann.
Yeah, those are Gran's brothers and
My
sisters.
brothers, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we would visit them, but the childhood cousins were in the Forrest family in Big Spring.
I see. Okay, that's good. So, in your high school, did you ever have a date? How did you meet? Before we go there, how old were you when you met Dad?
I was in junior in high school, maybe a senior, junior, and I met him through going to church sub-district meetings.
Yeah.
He was from Devitt, which was about 30 miles south of Hereford, and we'd go, and he always had girlfriends with him all the time. But he would come, and he was usually a leader of everything there, and I would see him there, and then I should have thought this before so I could know this.
That's okay. So you met him when you were in high school at the church camp. So did you have a date with him when you were in high school? Did your parents let you go out on a date?
In the end of December, or the 1st of December, he asked me to go to the Baptist church to hear the concert of
Handel's Messiah.
Messiah.
Yeah, you told me
So
about
that was my
that. That was your
first
first
date.
date.
Mhm.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's a pretty good date for your
Yeah.
first date. Way to go, Dad. Mhm. So then did your parents, how did they like him?
Oh, they liked him. Dad said, "Oh, well, I've heard of him. I know his family. They're fine. He played on the football team and the basketball team. He's fine." And he was smart, so they thought he'd do
He was
for a
fine.
date. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So did he come? How did you meet up? Did he come get you, or?
Well, he and his brother shared a car. Can't remember if they had their own car at those days, but having a car was not a problem.
Mhm.
He would come to my house, and we'd go to the movies and go to church and go to with friends. We had dates.
Okay, so was he the first guy that you really dated, or did you?
He was really the only person that I dated regularly. I would have dates. I'd go to the banquets, the football banquet or the several banquets, and I'd have occasional dates with some other fellows. But I never did really have a continuing date until I was with Joe.
Well, did you go to the prom? Did you have a prom? Back then, did they have proms like they do now?
Yes, I think so. I can't remember. I don't. Maybe not. I can't
Yeah.
remember right now.
So, Daddy's name,
It's Robert Joe Harrison.
yeah, and he's like, his birthday was
His birthday was July 13. He was born in 1929.
29.
And I'm not sure where he was born.
I think Stanford.
Stanford, Texas. His parents were Stanford, which was
Mhm.
more in East Texas than where we were.
Mhm.
But his father was an insurance broker. He had his own insurance company,
Mhm.
in Dimmitt, and he was a very prosperous leader in his community,
Mhm.
and they were well liked
Mhm.
and kind of always had something going on, and they had an active high school life. Joe was, as I say, played football and basketball and had lots of sports.
Yeah.
And his mother loved sports especially.
She did.
And even all her life, she was happiest when she could watch a basketball game.
Okay. So, all right. So let's go into that a little bit more. So you and Daddy, you met each other when you were in high school at the church camp, and then you dated on and off through high school. Okay, and then you said before that Daddy always had a lot of girlfriends.
Yeah, he did.
He was popular.
But after that, after we started going together, after that first date to the Messiah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he dated anybody else then.
Okay. So then, did you see each other a lot, or just every now and? Because you lived like far away in those days. 30 miles was pretty
Yeah.
far.
We saw each other a couple of times a month anyway.
Yeah.
But not every day because we were not in the same place.
Yeah.
But we saw each other rather often.
So did you like his family, his parents? his
Very
brother?
much, yes. And they were socially really active with all their community,
Mm-hmm.
and we enjoyed being part of their family friends too. So
And they were really active in the Methodist Church too. I
yes,
remember.
yeah, they were.
And Papa's name was Thomas Earl Harrison,
Mm-hmm.
and Marjorie Jessie
Marjorie
Harrison.
Jessie Harrison.
Harrison. Yeah, and her maiden name was McClellan.
McClellan.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so, and then Daddy had one brother, Thomas,
Right.
2 years older, I think, wasn't
2 years older.
he? Yeah.
He was in McMurray when we were there too, in college.
Okay. So how did you decide where to go to college? Now Daddy also made really good grades in school.
Yes, he was always the valedictorian and
Mm-hmm.
the leader of everything. So
Yeah. Okay. So both of you planned to go to college. Did both of your parents send you to college? They expected you to go, or how did that
yes, indeed. Daddy wanted me to go. He thought Texas Tech would be a good place.
work? Yeah.
Or he was not really very, very pleased that I chose McMurray.
Mm-hmm.
He thought perhaps I could find a better school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that was what it was. But he agreed that when I decided I wanted to go to McMurray College, they agreed that that was okay.
So why did you decide on McMurray?
Because we had a lot of friends from our church associations, and we'd been to McMurray for conferences and
Mm-hmm.
just liked it there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Joe wanted to go. And he thought that he might be a preacher.
Oh wow.
So he would go to McMurray, and that was where you'd go for that. So.
Did you ever hear him preach?
Yeah.
Okay. So he decided to go to McMurray, and you decided to go too.
Hmm.
So at that time,
That was in Abilene, Texas.
Abilene,
Mhm.
Texas. So at that time, women, did you think of having a career? Did you have any thoughts in your head about education or anything
Well,
like that?
I don't know. I wasn't terribly ambitious for
Yeah.
a career,
Uh-huh.
but I remember some of my teachers of the people. Let me see one of our friends kept saying, "You must not just go around and not have any ambition. You should
Okay.
you should get a degree and find a career."
Okay.
So I thought, well, I'll see what works out.
Yeah. So did you know what you wanted to study when you went to college?
I prepared to be for teaching,
Okay.
but I
Teaching.
never did teach. Really.
Yeah. Hmm. So you studied like for education and
I majored in English.
English.
Mhm.
hmm And Daddy majored in, I think he was going to seminary, and then he decided not to. Something.
He met he had an excellent biology teacher,
Okay.
and he became interested in science and
Mhm.
biology. So he changed right away from being into wanting to go to pre-med courses.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
he concentrated on pre-med courses,
Mhm.
pre-medicine.
And did you think that was a good idea?
Mm-hmm. That was fine.
Yeah.
Whatever he did, I thought was pretty fine.
Yeah, he was perfect. Okay, so you went all the way through school, right? All the way through McMurray. For
Yes.
4 years, or?
Mm-hmm. We had a really good time in college. We had a lot of good, close friends. And we went on deposition teams through various churches. They'd have people from the college come and give programs. We'd have music and then talking. So on the weekends, we would often go to other churches around that area. So we met a lot of people that way, and I guess our lives were centered on that kind of thing in the church structure at that time.
So what did you do when you went around on those things? Were you preaching or singing or?
Oh, I would give little talks, yeah.
Yeah. Did you
Yeah.
sing?
No, I didn't sing.
Yeah. And so what about Daddy?
He would give, I guess he'd give a sermon.
Yeah, he would. And then didn't you meet Billy Graham somehow?
No.
He came to. I thought you saw him. He came to your group. I thought Daddy told me that he came to your group.
He
one
may
time.
have seen him, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
You don't remember?
That's not impressing to me.
Okay. All right. So, what did you and Daddy like? What did you do for dates or fun while you were in college? Besides going to the
That's
church
what-
and doing
We had
that.
a lot of activities like that.
Yeah.
What did we do?
Did you go to the like?
We didn't dance,
Okay.
which would have been kind of fun. But in McMurray, there were 3 colleges in that town.
Yeah.
One was a Methodist, one was a Baptist, and one was a Church of Christ.
Okay.
So I think the Baptist girls had the most fun.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Oh, they were just not, they were a little less constrained than we were. But we never had alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
and we were pretty straight-laced, I
Yeah.
guess, but we thought it was fun.
Yeah. Sounds fun.
Yeah. We went to sports events and music events, and
Yeah. So did your parents, did they like pay for you to go to school, and Daddy's parents pay for him to go to school?
yes, we were very fortunate. They could pay our ways completely.
Mm-hmm.
We were very lucky. And of course the church school was a little bit more expensive than state schools would have been. So they were generous about giving us that.
Yeah. So when you met Daddy, what attracted you to him?
His
You can look at the camera here.
let me see. Well, he was just a leader in nearly everything that he did.
Mm-hmm.
He was smart, and he was good, and he was interesting. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do you remember? Here's a question on this little thing. It says, "Tell us about your first kiss."
I don't remember the first kiss exactly.
You don't remember it?
No.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That's terrible. Then.
No.
I don't know.
You don't remember it.
Mm-mm. I'd been kissed before.
Oh, wow.
But I can remember someone said, well, I don't know.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. So, you're in college, and then you're doing all this stuff together. And so, how did you guys decide to get married? How did that happen?
I can't. We were together all the time. We had classes together, not some classes together. But I had one of Joe's really good friends was in my English class, and he had a one girl who was more in his science classes. So they were good friends, and I was friends with James Hale, and he was friends with Nancy.
Yeah.
And but we still dated all the time, and we were always just kind of a couple of the campus, and our friends. We had friends who were friends of both of ours and couples. We had 3 or 4 couples that we were friends with, and would do things together.
Oh, that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
So you just go around together.
And they, 2 of the couples married in December of our senior year, and then we married in June. And some of the anyway,
Wow.
we had a group of really good couple friends.
That sounds fun. So his dad, was he romantic at all?
Yes, he was. He was. He loved. I don't know what you mean by romantic.
Well, did he like do anything like flowers or buy you stuff or write you poems or something like that? You know, romantic. You know, romance.
He was romantic in his attitudes. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't remember that sort of thing.
That was funny. So did your parents did Daddy propose to you, or you just got married? How did this thing work?
Well, we were together all the time, and I remember, I guess in the spring, I called Mother one time and said, Joe and I decided to get married. I can't remember how that came up, but she said, "Oh, you're supposed to do that at home."
You're supposed to what?
Make that decision, yeah.
Tell him. Oh, at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
but we didn't. We just kind of, everybody's decided we would be married. So
Yeah.
and Mother worked really hard at planning things for a June wedding.
Really? So everybody was happy about it. Your parents, his parents, everybody was like, "This is the thing to do."
We'd been together for 4 years basically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was kind of expected, and no big upheaval of any kind for that.
Okay. Okay. So can you describe Daddy's appearance?
He was a good-looking young man. He was blonde and healthy and athletic-looking. Yeah.
Eyes?
He was about 5'10",
Yeah.
and he's
Blue eyes.
blue-eyed and tall and kind of lanky, and he was a good-looking guy. He was really a really wonderful person.
Did he have he changed, he wanted to be a doctor. Did he really know what he wanted to do, or did it just kind of evolve? Did he have a plan, or did he?
No, after he decided that he was going to go into medical things, or he planned to get to medical school, and he didn't choose a specialty. He was just going to be a family doctor.
Yeah. I think he told me one time, I don't know where or how, but he saw Albert Schweitzer that influenced him something.
Yes, Albert Schweitzer came to Colorado, I think, and he went to see Albert Schweitzer, and he admired Albert Schweitzer a lot.
Yeah.
And that was one of the really hallmarks of his youth, was going to see Albert Schweitzer. I didn't go on that trip, but he was very impressed with that opportunity to see that wonderful man.
That's
And
cool.
Albert Schweitzer was a pianist and it was loved music, you know. He built his own piano, I think.
Really? Wow.
Anyway, he was a wonderful person.
Yeah. So, what do you think it was about you that attractive daddy to you?
I don't know.
Come on, Bob.
I don't. I thought I was just pretty lucky to have him.
Okay. So tell us about your wedding. Where was it?
It was in the Methodist Church in Hereford, and Mother made my wedding dress. It was really beautiful. She did some little fancy. It had scallops and
Lace.
lace and everything. And Joe didn't wear a tuxedo, but it was dressed up and nice.
Mm-hmm.
And my our college friends were bridesmaids, and our friends who had married already.
Yeah. Oh,
And
you're.
and Doris
Uh-huh.
and Thomas, his brother, and a wife, and three of my friends from college who were already married. I think they were all married.
They were the ones that you ran around with in McMurray.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's fun. So they were all your bridesmaids?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Do you remember their names? Any
Let's
of them?
see. Actually, one that I'm thinking now, Ann Morgan was one, and she was a Hereford friend.
Mm-hmm.
But then Doris and
That's okay. Ann
uh,
Morgan.
Seaton, Millie Seaton,
Millie,
and
okay.
Laverne Adams,
Okay.
and one other I can't remember.
I know them. I met them.
Mhm.
Millie and Stan and Laverne.
Millie and Stan and
Mhm.
Laverne and
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay, so you got married in Hereford, and was it like a small wedding? Was it just did you have a reception or?
yes, we had a
Mhm.
reception. It was in the church, and didn't have a dinner, as
Yeah.
I recall. Oh, and then Mother had us out to I can't remember if it was before the wedding or right after the wedding. Anyway, she was always having a big feast out at the farm, and she did that kind of cooking.
Nice,
thing.
yummy.
It was pretty.
She was a good cook.
Mm-hmm.
So was Daddy's mom, Nanny. She was a great cook.
She was a wonderful cook.
Yeah, they were really incredible. So did Daddy's parents, did they like you?
Yes, I think they did. I hope so.
They have
'Cause I
good
loved
taste.
them.
They have
They
good
were
taste.
wonderful. She, as you say, she was a fun-loving person, and she loved sports, and everything her sons did were what she liked to do.
Yeah.
She liked to go to all their events,
Mm-hmm.
and she didn't have any girls. She's often said, "Oh, I do wish I'd had a daughter, but my sons are wonderful," and they were, and they loved her.
Yeah.
And she, let's see, what about her? She would have been more athletic than I was, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But I think she later on had said when girls were playing basketball, she said, "Oh, I wish I could have done that. Wish
Oh,
they had
yeah.
had girls basketball."
She would have
when I
been
was
great.
growing. She would have
basketball player.
loved being
Yeah.
a woman's sports. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think Daddy's team went to the state or
Mhm.
something, and
They won state
Uh-huh.
in basketball.
uh-huh. And he did pole vaulting somehow.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and he was a pole vaulter, and
Mm-hmm.
I played football. And on the little schools, we could always be kind of the best in everything because
Yeah.
there weren't very
Mm-hmm.
there's enough for everybody to
Yeah.
excel.
So how did you guys do in college? Did you make good grades?
Yeah,
So was Daddy the valedictorian in college as well as
yeah.
high school? He was.
Mhm.
And you were next, I think.
I was not. One of our friends was the salutatorian.
Mm-hmm.
But I had the highest grades of girls in the school.
All right. So you guys were quite an intelligent couple.
Well, and for that, it was not the most distinguished academic
Mhm.
school, but we had good teachers. We had,
Mhm.
and I think we got a good education.
That's great. Okay, so you guys got married. When when did you get married? How old were you? Do you
I was
remember the date?
21, 1951,
1951, June 8th,
June 8th,
1951. Okay, so Daddy's a year older than you, so,
Mhm.
okay. So then did you go on a honeymoon?
Yes, we went to Colorado.
Okay.
We spent, and I took the Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman along and read it while we were traveling along. And we spent, I think the first night maybe Pueblo,
Mm-hmm.
and then we went to Denver, and I hadn't been to Colorado before, I think, so
Yeah.
so we enjoy finding Colorado
Yeah.
together.
Mm-hmm. So were you guys, did you have any difficulty adjusting to being married, or did you just like being married, or?
We liked being married. No, it was not. As I say, we'd been really close for 4 years beforehand, so it
Yeah.
was just kind of natural, and we were glad to get into the next step.
Yeah.
It was pretty fun, pretty much fun.
That's cool. Okay, so, all right. So then, after you got married, you graduated from high school already. How did Daddy find a job, or where did you go?
He he got accepted in medical school
Okay.
at Southwestern in
Oh
Dallas.
yeah. Okay. So you moved to Dallas,
We moved to Dallas.
and he went to medical school. And what did you do?
I got a job at a Presbyterian church.
Yeah.
Yes, it was sort of a secretary and just helper around there.
Yeah. So you worked while he was in school.
Mm-hmm.
And how long did you do that? Did he work all the way through he was in school, or did you? Well, I think you might have had me.
Let's see, what year were you born?
1953.
53.
So that wasn't very long. That was only 2 years.
Yeah. So
You got married.
we started having babies pretty soon.
You did. So you quit working when you started having babies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, okay, so Daddy's going to medical school. Did he like medical school?
Yeah, he loved it.
You did. Did you like that
Mm-hmm.
time period? Where did you live? Did you live on campus?
We lived in a mental health sanatorium.
You lived in a sanitarium?
Yeah, they had apartments, and Joe got a job working as an extern.
Even while he was in school?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a house that was a big white house that was in Sampson Boulevard,
Mm-hmm.
and it had apartments. There was a medical a doctor and his wife and children had the main part of the house, and we had an upstairs attic apartment.
Yeah.
And when you were born,
Mm-hmm.
and the first thing Daddy did was said, "It's hot as blazes in this place." So he spent a lot of time getting an air conditioning set up for it. And
Gingding did?
yeah. And it was all upstairs in the attic, and he had crawled around in the attic and got it established.
So you had air conditioning?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So did it have a kitchen? And
We ate meals at the dining room of the hospital with the staff.
wow.
We could eat on our own, but that's
Yeah.
where the staff met.
Mm-hmm.
And so for 2 years, that's what we did.
And
And it was pretty interesting because there's nice people there.
Is that where I was born?
Mhm.
I was born in St. Paul's Hospital. I don't know where that was.
Yes, you were around at St. James
St. Paul's
St. Paul's
Hospital.
Hospital. And we lived in that little place, in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. So I was always brought up in a sanitarium.
Mental hospital.
mental hospital. I always knew.
It was what was the name of it?
That's okay.
It's a pretty well-known place,
mental
yeah.
hospital. Okay, wow. So let's take a break. Okay, this is number 3, interview with Cherry Harrison, my mom. So we're gonna go through your kids.
Mhm.
So you just said I was born 1953 in Dallas. You guys were living in the mental hospital. That's where I grew up. So,
Well, we were still living in that house. It was a big house,
Mhm.
and we were living upstairs in the apartment. And then we moved to an apartment in the same building
Mhm.
downstairs.
Oh, okay.
And and a little bit more room. And Cindy was born there at St. Paul Hospital, same doctor.
That's okay.
Same doctor.
Same doctor. Mhm.
Mhm. And we enjoyed that house and that group of people there quite a lot. We had the people who lived in the main part of the house were good, sociable, and had all of us together a lot, pretty often.
Mhm.
So that worked out really well. And then Martha, Susan was born.
We had to move to. Daddy was in the army or something, and we had to go to the Fort. I don't know how that all worked out.
Moved to Fort Leavenworth, Kansas.
Mhm.
And I thought I had that all remembered. He went to, let's see, Fort Leavenworth.
I think he joined the army. He had to join the army, and then he had to go to Fort Leavenworth, and he was a doctor at Walter Reed.
That's right. Susan was born in Washington, D.C.
Oh, in Washington, D.C.
That's right. We left Dallas and went to Walter Reed Hospital, where Joe did his internship.
Okay.
And he
that was internship.
Internship.
Okay.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were there, and Susan was born in Washington, D.C.
Mhm.
And we lived in a duplex in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a place that was cold in the
Really
winter.
cold.
Yeah, that's the first time we'd really lived in cold country very much. But it was a pretty place, and we had trees with cherry blossoms on them, and so they were pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And Susan was a baby there, and Joe was going to work every day, and I was hanging out in the neighborhood with all the kids.
That's a lot of kids.
Well, there were 3. I had
Yeah.
a baby, and
Uh-huh.
Paula and Cindy.
Susan.
Mhm.
And then, so in a minute we'll go through each one, but then where was Martha born? She was born, we moved to Levelland when I was 5.
I had that in my mind a minute ago.
Mhm. Okay, this is piece 4 of the interview with Mom here in 2017. And we were just talking. Mom told me about, I was born in Dallas, Cindy was born in Dallas, Susan was born in Washington, D.C., in Silver Springs. And then you told me that Daddy had to go to Fort Leavenworth to be in the Army and work in Walter Reed Army Hospital. And you lived on the Army base for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were going to Dallas for Daddy to take a residency.
Yeah. Well, when we were in Fort Leavenworth, we lived on the base of the hospital grounds of the the military grants,
Yeah.
and all our neighbors were in the military,
Oh, okay.
and most of them there were going to command staff school for the graduate school for the military officers,
Mm-hmm.
and so so Joe was just in the hospital in the across the street. We lived across the street from the hospital there, and we had nice, great big house with a big front porch that went all around the house, and lots of big rooms, and it was total military housing, and it was in rows. At the end of our block was the colonel of the military, and then down to majors, and then we were the captains. We were those lower.
Daddy was a captain.
We were a captain. Yeah, Joe was a captain. So those were our neighbors, and the kids one day were playing in the car, because our car was parked right in front of the house, and one of the majors came by and said, "Cher, you really just shouldn't let the kids play in the car, because they're going to shift the gear and it'll roll down the hill." So I said, "Well, okay." And then one day I was in the kitchen in that big house, and the kids had some friends over, and they were all in the front porch and locked up and playing away, and I was back in the kitchen working, and somebody knocked on the door holding Susan, and he said, "Is this your baby?"
Oh no!
And the girls had figured out how to climb up and unlatch the screen in the porch, because the house was right across the street from the playground where all the swings were.
Uh-huh.
So they went across the street to swing, and Susan wanted to follow them, and she was just crawling. And so this guy came. She was in the middle of the street trying to cross the street.
Oh no, she was crawling. She couldn't even walk. She wasn't even one.
Well, she was toddling, I guess.
Oh my goodness.
That's one of the worst days of my life.
Oh,
Is this your baby? Yes. Oh. So I think I got her.
Wow.
Is she taking care of her children? But everybody looked after everybody.
Yeah.
On that street. It was kind of fun. That little community of military people.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all the people who lived there were working hard to advance their careers.
Yeah. And then I remember then Daddy, at one time he was going to have to go to Little Rock for something in the Army, but then he didn't have to go. I don't know what that was all about. But then he went to Dallas to take a residency. And
Well, after we had finished our turn, his military tenure was over.
yeah.
June 30th, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided we're going to move to Dallas and drive to Dallas from Fort Leavenworth.
Yeah.
And I was pregnant, and the obstetrician said, "You shouldn't drive that far when you're pregnant." And I said, and Joe said, "Well, we'll stop and get out and walk around."
Mhm.
And Joe's parents and my parents both came up and got the girl, Paula and Cindy and Susan, to take them home. I think Margie and Earl came, but I know Mother and Daddy did,
Mm-hmm.
and took them to Hereford and Demet,
Mm-hmm.
while we went on to Dallas,
Yeah.
split off,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that we could go get a house and get settled in and have a baby.
Yeah. Also.
And and the girls were staying in Demet and Hereford while we were doing that. So that was kind of a really busy time.
And I remember you told me one time that you had to have Martha on June 30th
because our insurance went out.
Your insurance ran out, so you had
The
to.
Army insurance was finished by
So
June the
you
30th.
induced
We had to get into Dallas before June the 30th. And have the
induced
baby.
labor,
Yeah, had to
so you could
induce
have
labor a
her
bit.
on June. So she was born on June 30th, 1958. She came as scheduled.
Yeah, right on time. But it was term. She wasn't too early. So
Yeah, she was healthy.
yeah, she was a healthy baby, pretty baby. I had pretty babies every time.
You did. You
Yeah.
had all your babies. I look at their baby pictures. They were all cuter than could
Oh,
be.
they were pretty babies, pretty babies.
Yeah.
Paula, Cindy, Susan, and Marta.
All coming right in a row, all within 5 years. And then, was that the residency where Daddy, he was going to be an anesthesiologist?
Yes.
He was going to be specialize in that in
Mhm.
Dallas.
When we went back to Dallas from there, he was going to, and he did. He got into the residency in July, and we were there July and August and September. And he decided he just didn't really like that practice very well. I don't know why exactly, but so he started looking around, and he went to Texas a time or two and looked around. Went to Plainview and tried to find a place to move.
I didn't
They
know that.
found Leveland.
Found Leveland.
Yeah, they needed a doctor, and we needed a town to live in. And
Yeah. It might be because the anesthesiologist, he liked working with patients and talking to people. And anesthesia, everybody's passed out.
he was. Yeah, he was. He didn't. He liked a connection with his patients a lot more than
Yeah.
with anesthesia. So I think that suited him very well, because it was anesthesia is a nice, prosperous field, but
Right.
he decided to change, and he did okay.
So he went into family practice
Mhm.
in Leveland.
Yes.
I remember moving to Leveland. I remember I was 5.
Really?
Yep. So Martha must have been just 1, or not 1. She was just
She was a
born.
baby, yeah.
Yeah. I remember when we got to Leveland, we had that house on Pine Street.
Right around the school again.
Did you buy that house? I think you did.
Yeah.
You bought that house. It was on the corner of the street and had a
Pine
vacant lot next to it. And I remember we went there, and the yard was all covered with weeds.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
And you said you and Daddy and Cindy and I think, went out there and just were pulling weeds and pulling weeds. That's all I remember is pulling weeds. And I was thinking, wow, this place has a lot of weeds.
Oh my goodness.
But it was a cute little house,
Yeah, it was okay.
small.
And then a little bit later we moved to Clubview Drive and had
Yeah.
a bigger house.
Bigger house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, so I remember that time of life because I was already old enough to start remembering it. And we lived right across from the elementary school.
Exactly.
And would walk over there. And then all along the street, there were couples and families and children, playmates, and we'd go out on our bikes and ride bikes all over town and play in the vacant lot. And you bought us a trampoline.
Oh, the trampoline was quite a draw for everybody.
Yeah.
And one of the Grapp children broke a wrist on that trampoline.
Yeah, I remember that.
Was it Anne?
I think it was Ann.
I think it was too,
Yeah.
which was not very good.
But we loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we broke a few bones.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so your kids, like, your kids all were really super cute and healthy when they were little.
They were healthy, that's good. And they were cute too.
Yeah, they were all cute and healthy. So, but I know so there were a few mishaps. You want to tell us about the time Susan had that accident? I think she was about 12.
So yeah, she was riding her bicycle around by the Methodist church from our house, about 3 or 4 blocks from our house, with her friends. And the father of one of her friends came back in the pickup, and he hit her bicycle and knocked her to the ground, and she had a concussion. And she was in the hospital in Levelland for 6 days. And the whole town was just distraught. And the newspaper would print nearly every day, Susan Harrison still in coma.
Yeah.
And the man who hit her was just so upset.
Yeah, I bet.
And he would later on come just be so grateful that she was well again.
Yeah.
So we were really lucky because she got over that.
Yeah.
And came lucky. That was the worst trouble with our family
Yeah.
health that we ever had was when Susan was hurt. But this, I remember we used to go. We had more social life in Levelland, and we went to parties at the country club and have dances. And this fellow would always, the father of the boy who hit Susan in his bicycle, would always come dance with me because he wanted to talk about Susan.
Yeah. See how she was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that really well, going to visit her in the hospital, and she was in a coma, and she'd say really strange things, you know.
What did she say?
Well, one time I asked her, I said, Susan, do you know who I am? And she said, yes, you're a Valentine flying through the window.
Did you?
Yeah. And I thought, oh my gosh, what's happened to my sister? And then she's told us that it took her a long time to get really back to where she felt normal. And then she got very dynamic after that. Because she had been a cheerleader and been very social and popular. But after that, she became really, had a drive about her to do something worthwhile, do something meaningful.
She still has it, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does. She really does. So, okay, so in Levelland, Daddy was working at a little hospital.
Yes, there were 2 hospitals in that town, and one of them was the one that all the people had grown up there all their lives were in, and then the one Joe was in was a newer one.
Okay.
But we became best friends with one of the families from Paul Russell,
Yeah.
who was a doctor in the other hospital, and he and his wife Tommy had both grown up there, gone to high school, and they knew everybody all over the county, and had gone to Texas Tech to school. So they were kind of the old Levelland establishment.
Yeah.
And so they anchored us through all Levelland. And we were the newcomers and the opposite hospital. And it was kind of, startling that those 2 were such good friends.
Yeah.
And we'd go, but it was nice because we could go to medical meetings with them because it would just take one doctor from each group.
Yeah, because there were only like a few doctors in the whole town.
Yeah. So each group had 4 or 5 doctors. And so it was a good combination for us because we wouldn't leave 2 doctors out from one hospital group. So it was a good social group for us.
I remember going down to that little hospital Daddy worked on Sundays, and the cooks would cook us fried chicken. Do you remember that? We'd go in there and eat that. They had the best fried chicken and mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Every Sunday after church, we'd go down there and eat lunch.
The hospitals always made home cooked food for their hospital patients.
They did.
And on the Sundays that they were on call, the doctors would bring their families to the hospital for lunch. So.
And sometimes we'd get laughing gas.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Where was that?
At the hospital.
Yeah.
We'd get laughing.
How? Tell them how you got
On a tank. There was a tank. I guess it's.
Who gave it to you?
I guess Daddy.
Yeah.
He did. Because it was I don't know what it's called.
Nitrous
anymore.
oxide.
Nitrous oxide. And he'd let us breathe it. And we'd start laughing, and everybody'd just be laughing and laughing and laughing. It was very fun.
That was your big experience in the hospital.
Yeah, that was fun. And then I remember that you and Daddy, you started this sick baby clinic, I remember, somehow.
That was with a little women's club that I was with.
You were in a women's club in Levelland?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And so that was their project.
So you guys started the sick baby clinic
Mm-hmm.
and got Daddy to come down and be the doctor?
Well, no, the doctors from both groups would come
Okay.
and see children that were not in the system very much, and
Like
it was
poor families?
yeah,
Mhm.
and kind of who just weren't kind of signed up with either group or anything.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a nice way to everybody work across the groups and work into.
Yeah.
So the sick baby clinic became pretty popular in that town.
Yeah, because I remember at that time Levelland was kind of segregated, even though it wasn't, it wasn't actually segregated, but most of the black population lived on the other side of the railroad
That's
tracks,
right.
and it was more poor,
Mhm.
and then other people lived on that side. And I remember Daddy was always trying to bridge that community
Mhm.
with the population of Levelland. And I don't remember how old I was, but I remember him running for mayor.
Well, he was mayor just before we moved here.
Later, yeah, he'd been there for a while.
Mhm.
Before, he'd been there for like over 10 years anyway,
Mhm.
10 to 15 years.
Mhm.
But then he ran for mayor.
He was mayor.
Yeah, he was
Several
mayor
years, yeah.
for one term.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he ran for another term, did he?
When we moved.
Yeah, he moved. Yeah. So I remember a lot about Levelland. It was definitely level. It was like that book we were reading. You could stand on a cow pie and see New Mexico. It was so flat. So flat.
Yeah.
Do you remember when they built a mountain behind the football stadium?
It was the remains of a building, the
Oh.
excavation,
Mm-hmm.
and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. It was.
And they made a mountain so the kids, when it snowed, we could take a sled and learn how to sled down something because it was so flat.
They weren't going to find any mountains anywhere else.
There wasn't even a hill, not even anything.
So they just had to use the excavation dirt for that.
Yeah, and I remember a lot of frogs. It would rain, and we'd go out and collect frogs and keep them in the garage. And we'd collect those little horny toads and keep them in the garage too. They were like our pets.
The little horny toads were really little critters that we don't ever see much anymore.
Well, they're almost extinct now.
Oh.
I know they were everywhere when we were growing up.
Yes. They were in every yard,
Yeah,
and they were charming little critters.
yeah, unless they spit on you.
Did they spit on you?
Yeah, not much, but if they got scared, they might spit on you. But they were everywhere,
Mhm.
frogs. Because the thing I liked about that town is that it was very safe. And you
Yes.
could walk around. I mean, unless you were on a bike or something, but you could walk as far as there wasn't any robbery. You didn't have to lock your house.
Yeah,
It was we could walk all over town.
that's right.
People would kind of take care of you, and so
It was a nice little town to live in.
it was.
Yes,
Really
we were
was.
very fortunate. Had nice experiences there.
I remember you were always taking us around because you had 4 kids within 5 years of each other. You were always taking us here or there. You were taking me to. We had piano lessons and acrobatics lessons, and Susan was a cheerleader. Martha was a cheerleader. I was a mascot, a
Yeah.
Lobo mascot for the football team.
Uh-huh.
Cindy was always going around. She had tons of friends all over town doing all kinds of stuff. You were just busy.
What did you wear as a mascot?
I
What
wore
was your little?
it was a black suit with a Lobo head, a round Lobo head, and then it had this velvet oval stomach and velvet red velvet.
And where would you wear that?
When the football team would come, be running onto the field, the cheerleaders and I would run in front of them, and then I would join the cheerleaders, and they would do like flip flops.
Would you tumble?
Yeah, do tumbling acrobatics. And you took me to an acrobatic clinic in Lubbock one time to try to go into competition. And I remember I broke my ankle. They were very competitive and very aggressive. And they made you jump so high on the trampoline and land, and I broke my ankle. That was the end of my Olympic career.
Yeah. Oh, we did have our accidents, didn't we? I guess everybody does, but they hurt every time.
I remember Cindy had one time. Daddy we used to love to sit on his feet, and he would push us up in the air.
Yes.
You remember? And then Cindy fell and broke her leg, her arm. It was her arm. Wasn't it her arm? I remember that. You were distraught.
Well, yeah.
But
Every time that happens.
and I broke my arm on a slide somehow. So, we had our share of, and I broke my ankle that time.
Mm-hmm.
I had to wear a cast all summer.
That's right. True. Miserable to have your foot in the cast.
But you took us to all kinds of classes. You were always getting us into all kinds of classes. We were taking piano lessons by the time we were 6 years old. You were driving us over there. And I think everybody but Martha liked piano. Martha didn't really like it that much. She liked being a cheerleader and
Mm-hmm.
doing things with her friends and stuff. And she was very organized. But that was a fun childhood. We had a really fun childhood.
Yeah, we were there just exactly through your school years.
Mm-hmm.
Went first grade and then left. Just
For me.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That was a fun time.
Yeah, we still have a lot of good friends from Levelland. It was a special time.
It was. And then I remember Daddy, when I was a teenager, there was that man, he was a pastor from Lubbock, and he came in and he built a church that was a mixed church, black and white together, which in those days there weren't that many like that in that part of the town.
Ellis Langston
Yeah.
was a young man from Lubbock.
Yeah.
And he had been, he went to seminary in San Francisco, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back, and he was pastor of that smaller Methodist church in Levelland, and then started the church in the black community.
Oh, he did start another church, or just the same church? It was the same. It was one church, wasn't it?
No, it was. We had the small one,
Mm-hmm.
right across from South Plains College,
Yeah.
and then he started the one in the black community,
Mm-hmm.
and we helped to get that going too. And we started a project of having mosaic murals.
Oh, that's right.
That was when we had been on vacation in Italy. We were just really impressed with the art, and Joe looked at the murals and he just thought, look how those have lasted. And they, piece by piece, and said they're just indestructible. And so he said, I want to do that in Levelland. So he started a group who could do murals and put up some murals in Levelland of mosaic tiles, and they're still there and still adding more every year.
And he got some Southwest artists that were pretty good Southwest
Mhm.
artists.
We went through New Mexico and
Mhm.
talked to some artists, and they made some drawings for us, and for them to trace into patterns that they then put into mosaic tiles.
Wow.
So there were some really good pictures that they made into mosaic art, and it was pretty wonderful.
So now Levelland is known as the City of Mosaics. I've seen it written up in magazines and newspapers, and even just recently, one of the guys from Levelland who's doing more mosaics contacted you
That's
and
right.
wanted pictures of Daddy and pictures of the mosaics because they are continuing that. That's the
Mhm.
identity of the town.
That's their
Yeah.
theme for Levelland City of Mosaics.
Yeah, and they were beautiful. They're beautiful. They're on
They
the
are.
hospital and on the college and the Chamber of Commerce, and you can go there and see the mosaics about 30 miles outside of Lubbock. Yeah,
Yes.
that was great because those are the things I remember about the work there. I remember you doing that sick baby clinic, and I remember the mosaics, and I remember the trying to integrate the communities because it was during the civil rights movement, and Daddy and you guys were really trying to have that influence in that town.
Well, it was easy because there was a small town, and some of those through those churches and the schools,
Mhm.
it was easy to combine some of those activities, and it was
Mhm.
a lot of fun for us.
Yeah. And so then, I remember one thing from my childhood is that you guys really like to travel,
Yes, we did.
and you were nice enough to drag us along. I remember.
Yeah, we'd been lonesome without you, so we traveled. I can't remember where we started.
It seemed like we went to, well, we used to always go on Easter with our spring break, we'd go to Big Bend.
Weren't those nice trips?
Yeah.
Big Bend was a big national park, and is still a big national park. It was rather a new park in those days. It was about 8-hour drive from Levelland.
Mhm.
So then we finally got all our friends to come, and we'd take about 4 carloads of people with all their kids to Big Bend.
It was fun.
Camp out and get on the river and take little
Inner tubes.
canoe rides and
Yeah,
inner
canoes.
tubes, and be right on the border. And then Pat called Susan last year and said, "You know what? We went to Big Bend, and now we have to have a passport to get over to cross the river
To Mexico.
To
Yeah, because we
Mexico.
used to just go over to Mexico all the time. In the hot spring down there.
Mhm.
That was fun. That was really fun times. We did that every year.
Mhm.
And then every summer we'd go to Mazatlan in Mexico. Almost every summer. We'd go
Mhm.
to Mexico and travel around down there.
That's right. Mexico is a wonderful place
Yeah.
to visit.
Yeah, we used to love going there all the time to the beach.
Mazatlan.
Yeah, and the ocean. And it was beautiful.
Our favorite town was Mazatlan.
And they'd have those mariachi bands at night and on the beach
I
and
know,
the
weren't
full
they
moon and all that good food.
Mhm.
Wow. That was fun. And then you took us to Europe
Mhm.
when I was a teenager. A couple of times, maybe 2 or 3 times.
Mhm.
And I remember you and Daddy would make these sort of tests. You know, you'd study where we're going to go. We're going to go to Paris, and we're going to see this museum and this Eiffel Tower, and then
Joe wrote out a sheet that said pertinent points.
okay.
Do you remember pertinent points?
Yeah.
From each place that we were going to go see.
And we'd go see all the pertinent points, and we'd see all the art and all the churches and all the old archaeology sites and all the caves.
Yeah.
And then we'd have you'd give us tests in the car as we were driving
Yeah.
to try to keep us from going crazy.
You were good travelers, though, so that was good. And Martha was the one who liked to get the guidebook and read ahead.
Yeah, and she was the youngest, but she was the one Daddy always wanted her in the front seat to read the map.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that funny?
In fact, sometimes he'd rotate and he would let Cindy read the map or Susan read the map. He would never let me read the map. He did it once, and that was it. I didn't know how to read a map. I couldn't read a map. Martha was by far the best.
It's something she really loved to do. And she loved to read the guidebooks about where to eat. She'd pick out the place we should eat in each place.
That's right. And the place would stay, too.
Sometimes.
We'd just drive along, and we'd have this Fodor's guidebook.
Yeah.
And then we'd say, okay, we're going to eat here and stay here. And we didn't have stuff in advance that much. We'd just move along. It was quite fun.
Mm-hmm.
Through France and Italy and Greece and Yugoslavia and Germany. And we went all around Europe, actually.
Yeah, we did go to Europe.
We went all around. And I remember one time you took us on a vacation and we went to every cave. Do you remember that? We went to the Altamira Cave. We'd go into people's backyards because they had a cave. And we'd be in the mud and we'd be going, whoa, let's hope this thing doesn't collapse.
Yeah.
Then we'd visit all these caves.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd see all this prehistoric stuff and so many museums and so many.
Well, that's good to have a little something to go look for. Have an object for something.
Yeah.
See.
So it was really, you really traveled a lot with
Mhm.
us.
Well, we traveled with us too, for us too.
Yeah.
But it was I think it was a good thing to take you along.
Yeah, it was. It was great. And you took us around the U.S. too.
Where else did you go?
Boston, New York, going around the Statue of Liberty and all
Mhm.
that. And then California. You took us to Haight-Ashbury during the during the full-on, when it was a full-on love fest over
Yeah.
there. We were walking through there, all these 5 little girls, all of us walking through there. I was so shocked the first time a full-grown man came up and asked me if I had a quarter. I was like, I was shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we went all around. You took us everywhere. We went to Colorado, New Mexico, all through Utah and Arizona to the national parks.
Mm-hmm. We love national parks.
Yeah, Mesa Verde.
Mm-hmm.
You love national parks, and you love the Indian,
Yeah.
the Native American
That's right.
culture.
Yeah, we enjoyed the Hopis and the
Taos Pueblo and
Pueblos,
Zunis,
Zunis.
Acoma. You loved the pottery,
At the Acoma.
and you still have a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
And really nice pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And Granny Gingging had that one from Maria, who's one of the most famous from the San Ildefonso.
Right.
Yeah, and Martha has that piece, I think, now. But
Everybody's envious of that. Well, yeah. Mother and Daddy started all that. They all loved that
Mhm.
the Southwest area and the pottery and the Indian culture too. So
yeah,
they helped us get started on it.
yeah. So we got to have a lot of Native American, go to a lot of those pueblos and
I know, weren't they fun?
villages. Yeah, very fun. That was really, so we traveled a lot through there. New
Mhm.
Mexico, Santa Fe, Taos in particular, and up in there. So
And you started skiing a little bit.
yeah,
Where did we go to ski?
Ruidosa.
Yeah, that was in New Mexico. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where you learn. That's a good learning place.
Uh-huh. It was a good learn. Everybody but me was pretty good. I got hurt the first time I went up, and I got carried down on a sled, and I never did ski anymore. But everybody else was pretty good skiers. And then, yeah. And then, so that was a good time. Very good time. So let's talk about your kids just a little bit more. Okay, so let's go for Martha. Martha,
It's number 4 girl.
number 4, Martha Lynn Harrison, born June 30th, 1958. And Martha, we already talked about her some, but she went to an unusual college, I remember, for a while.
Well, yeah, the St. John's College.
Yeah,
Um,
New Mexico,
Santa Fe.
Santa Fe. And they didn't have grades, and you sat around a table, and it was like a Greek, like you were with Aristotle and Plato.
It was a school that she was way too young for. I think it was my wish for graduate school. And so I sent my freshman.
You always wanted to go there?
Yeah. And I think it was beyond her. We were there last summer, and she said, we went through there and saw somebody. She said, yes, I went to St. John's. And they said, oh, really? And I thought, well, that she was really so. And then after we had moved to Maui, and we met our friends, the Behringers from Colorado, and Martha had been this one year to St. John's, and this sort of extraordinary experience. And Betty Behringer said, Martha, I think you would love Colorado State College.
Yeah.
And
Fort Collins.
Fort Collins. And so she's still in Fort Collins, and she did it really like went to school
She
there.
loved it.
Yeah, she said, I just want to be normal. So at least we accomplished that. We got one normal kid.
Got one normal? Yeah, it took a lot to get her to be normal, but she's normal now.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then Susan, she had that head injury, and then
Yeah.
she finally got back on track, and she went to Texas Tech, right? Did she go to Texas Tech? I know Cindy did.
No, I don't think Susan went to Texas Tech.
She went to University of Hawaii only, right?
Yeah.
She never did go to Texas Tech.
Mm.
Okay. So by the time she was in college, you were already in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Cindy, let's go to her after that. But Cindy went to Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
And Cindy always had a lot of friends.
She had high school dream, high school friends, all the girlfriends and the boyfriends.
She had so many friends.
Yeah.
Still does, actually.
And she still keeps in touch with them.
She does. And she always was very practical and
Yeah.
had a good head on her shoulders.
Uh-huh.
She's always telling me what to do. Should have listened to her.
Yeah. Well, Paula's always, even though she was always the leader of everything, because she was always sort of number one at school and everything you did.
Me?
Yes, absolutely. What did you do that you liked doing in Levelland?
Well, I liked, when I was in high school, I liked being in the band.
And you learned to play the flute.
Learned to play the flute. I learned to play the piano
Mm-hmm.
because you made me go to those lessons. And I taught piano to
Yes,
some little
you
kids
did.
there. And then I liked doing the newsletter. I used to edit the school paper.
Mm-hmm.
And you taught me how to write because you were always scholarly, more scholarly than I was.
Not really.
But you taught me how to write.
I was a grammarian mostly.
You were good at grammar, and you taught me how to write. I took a correspondence course, and you taught me. So I had a lot of stuff I liked in Levelland, and I always.
And you always had boyfriends.
I always had too many boyfriends.
Lots of boyfriends.
Too many boyfriends. And
Who was your first boyfriend?
John. He was my first boyfriend.
John Ellis.
Yes.
He was the football star.
He was a football captain. He was my first boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Then he moved to Scotland.
And you went to see him in Scotland.
I went to see him in Scotland. And then, yeah. And then Cindy, she didn't have a lot of boyfriends. She was a lot more discriminating and a lot smarter.
She had
But
girlfriends.
She was smart. Cindy was very smart.
Well, you were too.
Yeah, but Cindy was really smart too. Everybody was smart.
Yeah.
All of your kids were smart because you and Daddy kind of insisted on it. We were like, okay, you got to make good grades.
Yeah, well, it wasn't hard to get you to anyway.
Yeah.
You were all motivated for that.
Yeah. And so how did she go to Texas Tech? She graduated from high school early. I remember she graduated early.
She went through 3 years of high school. 3 years of high school and graduated. And you did too, didn't you?
Right. Mm-hmm. And then Cindy was always good at the piano. She could play. She was really good at the piano.
She was good.
And so she went to Tech, which was just really close by. And did she graduate from Tech? Or did she go to the University of Hawaii too?
No, she graduated Tech, I think, but I can't remember going to her graduation.
Yeah. I don't remember going to anybody's graduation. I never even had one. I mean, I don't remember. I never went to a graduation. High school or college.
You didn't? Because you didn't go 4 years.
Yeah.
And people kind of resented it. You weren't part of our class.
Right. That's true. They did. Cindy did the same thing. And Cindy was always so strong-willed. She was always very strong-willed. I remember she would, you remember that time when she ran away from home?
What? Let's see, we were still on Pine Street.
Yeah, that was when we were pretty young. She was very young.
Yeah.
And she'd get mad because she was like crammed in the middle, you know. I was the first one, and then Susan and Martha, and Cindy was like in the middle, and I don't know what it was, but she was always doing things for effect. You know, she'd always say things to make an impact. And one day she decided she was adopted because she didn't fit, you know, she didn't get enough appreciation.
Yeah,
she was adopted, so she ran away from home. And I remember her telling you and Daddy, "I'm running away from home."
She got this little stick and put a bandana and wrapped all her stuff in it.
Yeah, she took crackers and a Bible and some underwear, I think. That was her. That's what she took.
Started off down the block.
Started off down the street.
I remember we had a bedroom with your twin beds, and she woke up and said, "Your curtains have ruffles and mine don't." Do you remember that?
Uh-huh.
And so we had to go switching the curtains around so she could have some ruffles on her.
She would make a line in the room because Cindy was very neat, and I was a mess. I mean, I just threw stuff around. I was very careless and threw everything around. Cindy was very neat,
tidy,
and she couldn't stand sharing a room with me because I would just have piles of stuff all over. So she'd put a tape in the center of the room. And she would have boundaries. I mean, that girl had boundaries. You do not step over that line, you know, that tape. So she was a good sister, still is. Still is. And so, okay. So, and then Martha, by the time she went to college, you had moved to Hawaii. So you moved to Hawaii in 1973.
Right.
So why did you guys move to Hawaii? Do you remember?
Well, it was rather impulsive. Joe always liked to read about places. He was reading the medical journals and where people wanted. He's had a happy life and his practice, but he was doing what's doing in other places. And he said, "Hey, they want to a doctor for family practice in Hawaii. You want to go look at it? And that was in March. And I said, yeah, let's go look at it. So we came over here. And it was the 1st of March, and it was cold. And I thought, we'll go to the beach. And I was all ready to, because we had been to beaches everywhere. And I thought, I knew how to go to the beach, and I'd like Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
But it went to the beach over here, and it was cold in
was
March
cold?
that year.
Oh, no.
But anyway, we looked around, and he had written ahead to the medical group who wanted a doctor. And so there were about 15 doctors in that group, I think, at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And he learned all their names, and they interviewed him, and we met most of them. And he said, yeah, I think let's go try that out for a while. That airplane goes both ways. So we just came.
Wow. That was pretty bold.
I know, it was.
Did you want to do it?
I thought, well, yeah, let's go try
Did you?
that.
Did
Yeah.
you really?
Mhm.
Wow.
I wasn't averse to it anyway.
That's amazing.
I know it was kind of ridiculous, but
Everybody was shocked. I remember in
oh,
Levelland.
they couldn't
'cause
believe it.
a lot of people from those areas like Levelland, they didn't leave.
That's
they
right.
stayed there. They didn't even really travel much. A lot of my friends, people just kind of stayed in that area.
Yeah.
There's cotton and oil and growing maize and
Mhm.
different things and oil business and
That's right.
just stay there. So it was really shocking because I was at SMU
That's right.
and I remember getting a call saying we're moving to Hawaii. I was like, we'd never even been to Hawaii.
I always thought, well, we'll see it someday, but
Yeah.
it wasn't high on our priority of
Yeah.
places to visit.
Right.
But, well, yeah, we haven't been there. Let's go look at it. And he said, yeah, let's try it out. So here we are.
Here we are.
We moved across the street and rented the house across the street on Halela Street.
Yeah.
So we haven't been very adventurous since we got here.
Well, you chose the best place in the island, the most beautiful climate anyway.
Well, we think so.
Yeah.
But
So then
it's been fun.
we all moved over here. All of us, and then Martha went to the University of Hawaii.
Martha did.
Mm-hmm. I mean Susan.
Oh, Susan.
Susan
did.
went to
Susan
University
went
of
to
Hawaii.
University of Hawaii.
Martha went to Fort Collins,
Collins.
In Colorado. Susan went to University of Hawaii. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So who was the first daughter you had to get married? It was Cindy, I think. Cindy.
Mhm.
Cindy, and then
Cindy and Doug met
Yeah.
at the University of Hawaii, and they were in the same math class. I know, and they were married right after they graduated from University of Hawaii.
yeah. And Doug was working for Maui Land and Pine.
Hmm.
And so, how did you feel about Cindy getting engaged and getting married?
Well, I had such a good experience. I thought that was the thing to do.
Yeah. And so they've had a great marriage and a great
Yeah,
go for it.
that's right. They had. We gave it Christina and Kevin and
Hmm. And then they've had Kevin's had 3 kids.
yeah, they had Alki. They had Emma and Alki and
Ronan.
Ronan. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so then after Cindy and Doug, I think the next one to get married was it Susan and Brahim or Martha and Scott?
I think Susan and Brahim, I think,
Okay, so Susan met Brahim
at the University of Hawaii.
in Honolulu,
Hmm.
and they got married in Honolulu.
Hmm. And he had that interesting family from Lebanon,
Yes.
and we enjoyed getting to know those Lebanese people. They were nice.
Absolutely.
His family was really nice.
Yeah, so that was a good marriage as well.
Hmm.
And then Martha and Scott, she met Scott.
Tipton's, yeah.
Mm-hmm. She met Scott in University of in Fort Collins, Colorado State, right?
Yeah.
Right. I remember their wedding too. They had a good marriage.
Wonderful.
And they had 2 kids.
John and Susan.
Yeah. And now John is married to Crystal, and they have Phoebe. And Susan is married to Chad, and they're about to have
a baby. We
about
don't
to have a baby they've already named. They think they're going to name it that. Maybe they will. McKenna.
McKenna. What was her middle
Maybe.
name?
I don't know if they've totally decided.
Yeah, I think they have definitely.
So that's been a good marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And Paula married Gary, and that's been a good marriage.
Yeah, it's been a good marriage.
We've been really lucky. We got good husbands for all the girls. What an accomplishment.
That is an accomplishment. It is a pretty good accomplishment.
Yeah, I'm pretty relieved, pretty pleased with all my daughters and their families. They're pretty delightful. And Paul and Gary got this established foundation of Think Small, and it's grown into this enormous event that's helping children all over the world almost. It's amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mama. Thank you very much. So, let's see here.
And Doug had that great career with Maui Pine.
Well, he did.
Yeah, he got to be the president of the Pineapple Division of the Maui Pine.
That's right.
And he learned all about irrigation and building houses.
Really amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Brahim was a professor.
Professor at the university.
Professor and has of economics.
Mm-hmm.
Has been for many years and is.
Yeah,
Very
Susan and Brahim
esteemed.
had great careers at the University of Hawaii as professors.
Susan's a
Leaders
full
in their
professor
school.
too.
Yeah, they were leaders in their school.
Still are.
Mm-hmm. Still are.
Yeah. And Scott had amazing jobs with
He was
computer.
Yeah, computer engineer.
Yeah.
What was his company?
Oh, it changed names so many times. It went back in many times. And then Martha was a technical writer.
Mm-hmm.
So they both had careers.
High-tech jobs.
Yeah, high-tech jobs. Yeah, very good jobs.
And they had great happiness in Fort Collins. They had
Yeah.
a nice
Really,
community. So everybody's settled into nice lives. thank
everybody's
goodness.
got it going on. And so then when you guys moved here to Maui, I know you and Daddy, after all your kids were out of school, you were living, together alone, you started traveling quite a bit internationally. You guys would go every year for at least about 6 weeks in the summers to somewhere. I know you were in.
I know one of the nicest trips I made was to Lebanon,
Yeah.
and got to go know some of Brahim's family. That was fun.
And you went to Jordan. They took you to Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to see the village where Brahim's family was. They were sort of the high officials in the church there.
Yes,
Brahim's
well,
father.
yeah, and that was in Lebanon too.
Mm-hmm.
They were they still have big group of people who are leaders in that church of the Maronites. Maronites.
Yeah.
Christians in Lebanon.
Mm-hmm. And then
Very
you went.
smart people.
Yeah, very smart people and really really, really intelligent people and good people.
Mhm.
And then you went to, remember you went to Egypt?
Yeah. So the Coptic church there,
Yes.
the first Christian church in Egypt, and one of the first Christian churches, and it was. They told us that the Coptic church, that this is the way we know the sound of the Egyptian language from the early days because of the Coptics community.
Wow. And that's the same Coptic church that got bombed yesterday by the
Yes, it did.
jihadists
That's
in
right.
Alexandria.
Yes.
And then I remember you went to Russia when it was still really during the Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
It was not many people went to Russia at that time.
That's right. We've been to Russia 3 times.
I remember once you told me that you couldn't go. You had to go exactly in these different places. You couldn't go where you wanted to go. But you went to Russia 3 times already. I didn't know that.
We went once from the Pacific side,
Yeah.
and then the first time we went to Moscow.
Mm-hmm.
That was, and then I can't remember where the second trip was exactly. But
And then I remember you went to China when it was still closed. I
yeah,
don't even know how you got in there. I guess it had just opened, maybe the first trip, the first wave of people that they let come in after the Cultural Revolution. I remember you telling us about that. You went a lot of places.
we did.
You went to Turkey,
Yeah, I love Turkey too.
Cappadocia you loved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you loved that. And you went to, like Daddy was into Captain Cook, following his voyages.
Through the Pacific,
Yeah, you went to